In this video, we will understand the reason for finding the average difference of each value in the data from the mean of the data. This average difference can also be referred as standard deviation of the data. In the previous video, I was telling you about the bell shape that is commonly visible in almost every kind of data in the universe. If the data is bell-shaped, it simply means that the data would be evenly distributed around the mean of the data. Since we are so sure of the bell shape, we ended up defining some more properties of such kind of data. We can call them properties of a normally distributed data, and I would explain some of the most important properties right now. For a data that is bell-shaped and which is normally distributed, 68% of the data would be within one standard deviation of the mean. Think back. One standard deviation is nothing but the average difference of each of our answers from the mean. Remember the frequency and proportion distribution graph we draw earlier. This graph is bell-shaped with the mean somewhere in the middle. When we are saying that 68% of the data is within one standard deviation of the mean, we are referring to both sides of the mean. 34% on the left side of the mean, 34% on the right side of the mean. And how far we need to go on the right and the left side would depend on the value of standard deviation we got by calculating through the above method. So go back to our earlier example of the number of shirts owned by 500 people and assume that the standard deviation value we got is 3 and the mean is 9.5. We are saying that 68% of the data would be within one standard deviation of the mean. Mean is 9.5. If we go right to this bell shape and add one standard deviation, that is 3, we would get 9.5 plus 3, which is equal to 12.5. And if we go one standard deviation left to this bell shape and deduct one standard deviation from the mean, we would get 9.5 minus 3, that is equal to 6.5. So according to the first important property of a normally distributed data, 68% of the 500 answers, that is 340, would be within 6.5 and 12.5. In other words, 340 people would own shirts between these two numbers, 6.5 and 12.5. Similarly, according to the next important property of normal distribution, 95% of all the data would be within 2 standard deviation of the mean. For this example, 2 times standard deviation would be 2 multiplied by 3, that is 6. Since the mean is 9.5, on the left side of the mean, if we go 2 times standard deviation, we will get 9.5 minus 6, that is 3.5. And on the right side of the mean, if I go 2 times the standard deviation value, we'll get 9.5 plus 6, that is 15.5. So as per the next important property, 95% of 500 people, that is 475, would own between 3.5 shirts and 15.5 shirts. The bottom line is that once we have the standard deviation value for our data, we can make some important assumption about the data based on the properties of normal distribution. Now that we have the base concepts cleared, I need to explain some nitty-gritties regarding variance and normal distribution. Let's do that in the next video.